guys. This is part two of our 2023 rookie mock draft. If you didn't see the first part, click on this link, go watch it, see who we picked in the first six picks. It'll help everything make sense. And if you haven't, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us go. We'd really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into some more rookie mock draft.
All right. 107. What's that?
Give me Jordan Addison.
Jordan
honestly,
Addison, the
A lot
107.
of people have him above Njigba right now. I do not, but he's 6 feet tall, 174, so he's got decent size. He's definitely smaller than some of the receivers, but dude's production is through the roof. I think there's something to be said to have a good quarterback and you put up those crazy yards because they can actually hit you. Whereas, like, if you suck, if you're good on a team with a bad quarterback, like if you were on Notre Dame, if he was on Notre Dame, he would not put up these same numbers because Drew Pine's terrible. Shout out Drew Pine. Sorry, no, respectfully, you're terrible. Anyway, I don't know. I think the production's through the roof. He's done it multiple years. Can get open down the field, get open anyway. I like him at this point. I think he's another guy goes to a great team. He's got some great production.
No, I agree. Blitnikoff winner. He's been playing fantastic this year. He's in a great system with Caleb Williams, Mario Williams. They're looking pretty good so far, and he just keeps producing. And because of Jack Smith-Njigba not being in this race, because he's been hurt, it's pretty much been Jordan Addison keep climbing. And the further we get along in the season, with people not being able to see Jack Smith-Njigba, the less likely, I guess, they are to pick him. And so I just am unsure. Like, I picked Jack Smith-Njigba, but Jordan Addison has been a solid pick. I don't think you can go wrong between the two. So that's where kind of I'm at. They're both dogs. I really like this guy. I think he's
dogs on my team right now. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, these guys are dogs. Like, this class
the fact that you're getting him at 1-7, like, you're going to get one of those top guys that we've said right now, 1-7,
right?
I think says how much weight that a first round pick, 2023 class says. Because, like, Jordan Addison would have been what, top 4 pick last year? I would say at least.
Oh yeah, personally,
I think he's
now.
better.
This is going to get a little confusing because you have Drake London, who's on USC, completely different team now. But if we're going I go Breece Hall. I personally go Garrett Wilson because I love Garrett Wilson. But I think Jordan Addison is a wide receiver 2 in that class. You can make the argument that he's wide receiver 1. And so, yeah, I think that this is these type of guys you're getting. I think Jack Smith-Njigba is probably the wide receiver 1 last year. And now you're getting Jordan Addison. These are all, you're splitting them by a hair. But if we're going to look at 2022, if you're trying to think how is this going to compare? How are they going to be in Dynasty? This is a good class. And especially in Superflex, these guys are going to slip back when people are picking Will Levis in our previous video at the 106. And they're going to slip back to the 107, but it's going to happen. Maybe it's Hendon Hooker. Maybe it's Will Levis. Whoever it is, there's going to be some action going on, especially this year. Last year, it was not quite as exciting because the quarterback sucked. This year, completely different ball game. And now you throw in a good tight end. We haven't gotten too deep in the tight ends, but
it's
even
coming.
better tight end.
We got Notre Dame Homer on this podcast, and me.
Yeah.
I got some stuff to say about Michael Mayer.
All right. Well, since Camden took the 107, I think that I don't even know how we're going to do this. I guess we'll go.
No, I go first. You go. Then Niemi goes back to back. Then you go
back to back. We good with that? Okay. Yeah. So I got the 108. All right. Well, man, this is tough because now we're sitting here. We have 3 good running backs left. We have a couple good wide receivers.
There's a tier break after one of these running backs. So I think to me, there's a clear next favorite in the running back class for me.
And at this point in time, I'm stuck pretty much with – I don't like the quarterbacks. I'm going to go with wide receiver again. Now, who do you choose? Do you choose the guy who's been kind of balling out this year, prototypical alpha, or do you go with the guy who's been pretty much non-existent this year, hasn't showed up since his freshman year at LSU, and take the upside swing if you have a late pick in the draft? I'm going to go with a more for sure thing based off of where I'm at. I'm going to let him keep slipping. The LSU player keeps slipping. I'm going to go with Quentin Johnston out of TCU. Dude has been on one this year, and Max Duggan, the quarterback, I felt was kind of hindering him throughout the early part of the year. I was starting to wonder if Quentin Johnston was going to show up, but he finally did these last couple of games. He had a game against Kansas, who Kansas had a good year. They're ranked number 19 at the time. 14 receptions for 206 yards and a touchdown. Followed that up with the game against number 8 Oklahoma State. The Big 12 doesn't play a lot of defense, but they have a bunch of solid good teams. He had 8 catches for 180 yards and a touchdown in that game. He's been lighting it up lately and is an absolute monster in the red zone. He's 6'4", 215 pounds, just an absolute monster. I would love if he went to the Bears. I don't know what they're going to do. I hope they get a wide receiver early on as a Bears fan. But Quentin Johnston is going to be a great fit for whatever team loves giant quarterbacks who catch the ball, and he has great deep threat catchability. That's one of his best attributes. And
Catchability. You're muted. You just muted yourself.
He does have big catchability, though.
Sorry. No, my AirPods were off. But at any rate, yeah, great catchability, makes amazing catches downfield. Quentin Johnston's who I'm picking here.
I like it.
Ben, how do you feel?
I like it. I agree. I don't know. Butte is interesting because hearing some rumblings, he might be picked pretty early in the draft just based on his profile. Like he might get the draft capital. And if he gets the draft capital, I think it'll be really interesting. But, I mean, Quentin has he has great size as well. He's actually a little bigger, I think, than Butte. Is he 6'4", I want to say?
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's big.
I like it.
My biggest nervous, it's like the same exact thing that like people have with Ohio State quarterbacks, which Justin Fields is now breaking in the NFL. Is just like crap. Like Jalen Reagor did the exact same thing. He like broke out his junior season, and then everyone's like, man, Jalen Reagor's a top 3 wide receiver. Then you were like drafting him over Justin Jefferson, and now you look like a fool. And so like Quentin Johnston, like I think that's my worry with like him versus Butte. Like you're not taking Quentin Johnston over Jordan Addison or JSN unless something dramatically happens in the last few weeks of the season. But I think I'm still taking Butte over Quentin Johnston. But I think he's a very solid player. Like if you're getting him in this 108 to like 110 range, like in a normal year, he's probably going 106, 105, 104. So
I like him. I do think Butte will, when it's all said and done, have a lower ADP than, like I think he'll get drafted before Williams does. But I do like Williams.
Yeah. So, all right, Caleb, you have the 109, 1010 back-to-back here. Who are you going to go with?
You know, if I knew this was tight end premium, this might have been a different decision. But at the 109, I will be taking Sean Tucker as my RB3 in this class. I think there's a lot to be said about the. Okay, I guess we'll say this. So 109, we're going with Sean Tucker, but 110, we will be going with Zach Evans. So back to back. So let's talk about this because I feel like we have to like now you're comparing like apples to oranges a little bit. So Zach Evans has gotten screwed over in his production this year, which is the typical Ole Miss thing to do. Like we know these guys are elite athletes, but they don't necessarily get the touches. Kind of like, I mean, the wide receivers have killed it, but like running backs recently coming out, not so much. We look at like the career stats this year for Zach Evans. He already has 114 carries, 7 touchdowns, 8 receptions for 93 yards, even though we do think he's going to be a really great receiving back in the NFL. He has been splitting carries. But then Sean Tucker is the workhorse back that we all think he is. I compare him to Nick Chubb. I think that's like in my heart who I think he is, but I don't know. He looked pretty good against Clemson. But 169 attempts.
Everyone looks good against Clemson. Clemson's a bunch of bums. If you went to Clemson, I was at the Notre Dame game and you guys suck. So I'm not drafting anyone on Clemson. They're all bums.
Oh my
100
God.
But
So anyway,
in 3 years, let's talk.
if you want to go talk some smack to Camden. But anyway,
You can't talk smack to me. You got the crap beaten out of you.
well, not crap.
Yeah, it was bad. That none of the fans were there until the end of the game. It was so bad.
Camden, I'm happy for you. And you're
Talk that
Yeah,
talk.
I was
talk that talk.
That's the first big game that didn't feel like it had an asterisk next to it. And Notre Dame's won in a long time.
That is
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we beat Clemson, but Trevor Lawrence is out.
Right.
And then they beat the crap out of us when he comes back. So, I mean.
Yeah. Agreed. But no, I think that between these two running backs, it's going to be tough because you're going to get these probably close to the end of the first, like we're seeing, and they're both quality backs. I think these are a couple guys that are kind of in the Kenneth Walker range. I probably would have taken him over Kenneth Walker last year. Now, obviously, we can see how Walker's doing this year, and so we're probably more inclined to say, I would still pick Ken Walker. But at the time, he really wasn't all that special. I mean, he had a great rushing year. We were worried about his catching ability. He's not had that much of a problem in the NFL so far. But these are a couple of guys, if you're thinking into last year, again, if you want to see, like, okay, how do these guys compare to last year, that's the type of zone we're thinking here with Sean Tucker and Zach Evans. I think Zach Evans is really getting looked over because of his running mate in Quinshon Judkins as a freshman. That dude has been unreal. And he's
cool.
Evans is kind of
he's going to be good.
Man.
2025, get ready.
Names correlate to how good you are. Butte, great name.
Yeah.
What was his name? Judson?
It's Quinshon Judkins. Yeah, 2025.
That's an unbelievable name. He's
ready for
destined
that.
for the NFL.
Can't wait to do that prospect profile. But yeah, he's already had 1,171 yards rushing this year, and he's really taken a lot off of Zach Evans. So I think that's where Evans has kind of slipped a little bit because going into the season, I felt like he was almost unanimous running back 3 in this class, and Tucker and Bigsby were right there. And now it's just kind of a hodgepodge. They're all in the same tier for me. I don't really see one any different than the other. And so it's kind of maybe depend on where the situation is, which you don't typically like to do. But like if we're going to go to a tiebreaker, that's kind of where I'm at. He's got 700 yards on the ground this year, 8 receptions, 93 yards in the air. So I am a little unsure of what to expect out of him at the next level. Now, Sean Tucker, I'll be honest, I love Sean Tucker. I don't think that he is like in another tier than these guys. I do like him a lot, and mostly it's because of the tweets that he puts out on Twitter. Every single time there's a football game and they finish, he tweets out, "This was the score. I am pleased or I am not pleased with my performance. I'm not pleased with the team's performance, but we're going to get better." And then it's the same thing, and it's one giant sentence. And I love it. I'm here for it. He is like the most positive guy. He's always grinding. Dude is working so hard. He's coming in at 5'10", 205, okay size. Hope for him to put on a little more. But last year, as a sophomore, he ran from was 1,500 yards, 20 receptions, 255 yards in the air, 12 touchdowns. This year, he has cooled off a little bit once they got into conference play. In the non-conference season, he was tearing it up pretty good. Early on, he had a game against like Wagner, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. Connecticut and Louisville, he had a couple 100-yard games. But since then, he hasn't been able to break 100 yards. So that's worried me a little bit, unfortunately, as I do like Sean Tucker a lot. I'm not quite sure he's going to be able – it's tough. It's tough to say what he's going to be able to do that's going to differentiate himself from other running backs.
I would just like to add this caveat. If you're listening to this and you're looking at your dynasty team right now and you're realizing that we just mentioned like 4 running backs in this first round this year, and we're about to mention a lot more if we ever do like a second round mock too, you should be looking to trade these like middling tier running backs off your roster for future picks because they're about to get replaced.
Yep. That is 100%
New wave
perfect
running backs
segment.
coming in the NFL.
It's gonna be a huge turnover. I'm seeing a big turnover of all these older running backs getting the boot. Guys like that are
Lenny.
younger now, they're coming in. Well, Lenny, I mean, you could go on and on about all these,
Sharp
older
White
backs
might
that are
take over that.
coming.
Rashard White had 22 carries last week.
He already
Rashard
took it
White's
over.
already taken over that
Yeah.
backfield. It took him 10 weeks, bro. Not even.
But it's guys that we see year after year that are like Elijah Mitchell. Not that he's going to be taking – the CMC thing was different, but like those things will happen. Later running backs, third and fourth and fifth and sixth round running backs, generally speaking. Now, third's a little bit – it's borderline because you can get like a David Montgomery. But fourth, fifth, sixth, those guys are replaceable. I hate to break it to you, and I might be in the minority on this, but guys like Dameon Pierce, in my opinion, historically replaceable. And with this class –
you want a prime example? Look at the Jets, man. Look at the Jets.
Michael Carter, another one. He had a great year his rookie year. I don't think he could have had a better year for where he was drafted and the production that he had. They'd go out and get Breece Hall, running back one of the class. If they're not, you just never know when that's going to happen unless you get like a guy that's got good draft capital. And there's about 5 or 6 guys that are going to come out of this class that are going to come in and replace guys like Michael Carter's. Dameon Pierce may be an outlier, but I'm going to go with what has historically been true and statistically been true in those later round running backs. And I hate to break to you, like Isaiah Spillers, Zamir White. I'm hoping Zamir White can take over for Josh Jacobs if he leaves, but like they might Josh Jacobs leaves, and all of a sudden now they got Sean Tucker on their team. Now they got Tank Bigsby on their team. Now they got Zach Evans on their team, and Zamir White's not going to out produce them. And so if you have guys like that, another one this isn't going to happen because they have too many running backs on their team, but a guy like Brian Robinson, I'm trading away Brian Robinson right now if I can get a 23-second. And I have, and that's me, but like I just don't see those guys as guys who are going to take over even as much as they want to force them into that role. That's just not something that's going to happen. So, Niemi, I like both these picks. We'll get to the last pick here.
No,
second last pick here. Yeah, you're at 111.
2 more guys.
So I got 111. You got 112. Okay.
Do it, Noah. Do it.
It didn't even matter because I'm just going to go ahead and get Kayshon Boutte.
Yeah,
he just fell to me. So I'm not picking another quarterback here. I don't know about Hooker yet. He's kind of old. And I know that there's a scarcity at the quarterback. I just realized I just let Camden have what he wanted. I don't even care. If you're at the 111 spot, you're swinging for upside. And Boutte is like the definition of a contender. Like you got second place, most likely you just lost a championship. You get a swing at a wide receiver 1. I mean, flashback to 2 years ago, Boutte was a wide receiver 1 of this class, or at least in very high regard.
But better behave, not squirting water bottles in people's faces.
It is like a George Pickens-esque scenario. I think he's got better upside than George Pickens personally because I think he's shown a little bit more.
5-star. I mean,
it's as good as you want to get, except for he had an injury issue, it lagged, and then the things weren't going super well at LSU, and who knows what's going on there.
Can you blame him though? He has to play for Brian Kelly. I mean,
this is true.
I wouldn't want to do that. So,
but this is why
I think that immediately bumps him up the draft boards at least a little bit.
Well, at any rate, at the 111, this is the perfect swing for upside. If you are a contender in a dynasty league and you can get Kayshon Boutte at the end of the first round, you're taking that 10 times out of 10. Caleb?
I agree with this. I think these are the type of discussions like when you're thinking like, man, I'm competing. Should I trade that late 23 first? And you're like, X player that's 27, 26, 28 years old compared to Boutte. And like, I know it's still a risk. Like there's a chance that he busts, but like, I think like if you're comparing this, like, would you have traded like Treylon Burks was the 105, 106 this last year, and you were feeling pretty good about that. But like Boutte is such a better prospect than Treylon Burks even was. So it's like when you're considering that, like we said, like this class is just so deep. It's killer. It's killer. I like that pick.
No, it's good. All right, Camden. I think I know what it's going to be. But I'm just going to go ahead and let you do it after 112.
Baby. He's like, hey, listen. He's not going past 112. Okay, maybe he won some leagues, but I have on good authority. Michael Mayer's not slipping out of the top 15 picks in the NFL draft, despite what all the mock drafts say. I think you could see some teams trade up for him. Let's give the hypothetical, all right? Let's say Justin Herbert, who likes to throw to tight ends, has never had a good tight end, wants a tight end, and the Chargers go, let's trade up and get Michael Mayer. How much he skyrockets up the board if they get Michael Mayer? I don't know if any of you guys have watched him. I've watched every single Notre Dame game, been at all the home games except for the Stanford game. This dude is a freak. He is so good. He is the worst quarterback in all of college football. And he's still, listen, when Drew Pine takes a snap from under the center and he goes to throw it, he stares at one person the entire time. And it's Michael Mayer. And he still catches the ball. I don't know how he does this. He should get double teamed every time, and he does. Listen, Michael Mayer, I'm on my soapbox, and I don't care. I'm proud of it. Michael Mayer's a dog. They call him Baby Gronk. I see him as like the Mark Andrews, Gronk, like Kelsey role a little bit. Like he can catch the ball. He's insane. His route running's excellent. Like I think he's gonna be a top 15 pick in the NFL draft, and I think with the draft capital, he will rise up everyone's dynasty boards a lot. And if you need a tight end, especially in like a league that's tight end premium, I think there's a lot of upside with him, especially if he ends up going to a team like the Chargers or someone else who could benefit from a great tight end. I mean,
the Bengals.
Yeah, Hayden Hurst is a bum. If the Bengals got Michael Mayer, that'd kind of be unfair if they'd like 4 Pro Bowl receivers on their – okay, maybe only 3.
Yeah, that would be –
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. There's a lot of teams where you could look at him and be like, if you put him on that team, they would be so much better. Like, he immediately – I don't know. He's by far – we think Cole Kmet's good. This dude, Michael Mayer, has every tight end record possible at Notre Dame. I mean, there's been some pretty good tight ends come out of Notre Dame. Talk about the colleges that tight ends come out of the most consistently. Iowa, Penn State maybe, and Notre Dame. So, I mean, and This dude is the cream of the crop of, I mean.
He's good.
Right there. I'm shooting with upside. I know there's other good wide receivers. There's also some decent running backs left on the board, but a tight end premium league, or even if a one tight end, if I don't have a good tight end, and he goes to a team that has like no tight end, like a Chargers they've been doing old tight ends. Herbert loves tight ends. Their tight ends suck and lose them games.
Nope,
Golson
I agree.
Everett who doesn't run his routes on primetime television, and Herbert throws a pick six and they lose. Whatever. Not mad. Yes, I am.
Yeah. I do agree, though. I think that the Mayor's he's a great prospect. He's going to be, I think, clearly tight end one of this class, Baby Gronk, all that good stuff. I have not gotten the opportunity to watch every single Notre Dame game as you have, so I'll defer to your judgment, even though you're probably a little biased.
I can be. Listen, this is the one thing I can be a homer on, and I'm owning it hard.
Listen, it could have been Kyron Williams last year. Where were you at?
He was out racing him and beating him.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. You did say you could beat him in a race.
No, I will bet every dollar. To quote the old UConn women's basketball coach, I would go to the bank. I would take out every dollar I own. I would get a second mortgage, and I would bet it all on Kyron Williams.
To lose?
No, to win. That was like when, this is a situation where Brittany Griner says, "Yeah, I can beat Marcus Cousins one-on-one." This is the same exact scenario that's going on right now.
I understand what you're saying. But yeah, Michael Mayer, great prospect. I think this is this just shows again how the depth of this class is, because a guy like this would have been much higher last year in the 2022 class. So, Caleb, any thoughts to wrap us up here?
No, I think it's solid. First, there's a lot of depth still on the board. So, like, especially those second
round has some pretty good guys in it.
So, like, you're probably going to make a second round video at some point. But I know it's like Dynasty trade deadline. So, like, at the end of the day, like, don't trade those seconds either, because the first and the seconds are loaded.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can see how low this class is. We'll get into the second round. We might do it next week. We'll see. Like, we'll talk about it and see what we want to do. But this class is going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to do player profiles on all of these players that we just mentioned. And we're going to we're going to do plenty more mock drafts during the off season. We're just getting started. But for you guys that wanted to see, like, if your team's kind of sucking it up right now and you wanted to get into a mock draft and see where am I going to get? Who am I going to get? How good are these guys? We try to put in perspective from the 2022 class, exactly where they're at and how we see them. And so I hope that shows you guys and it helps you understand how good this class is.
I mean, you still guys got the hooker kid from Tennessee who's fine at the draft boards. You got Michigan's running back Corum. There's still there. Dudes. I mean, he might be in the Heisman conversation at the end of this year potentially.
He's been fantastic. Josh Downs is another guy that we didn't get on the board.
Look at his face; he's so mad that I just.
I'll say this: whoever
he's
wins,
disagreeing. He's no.
I'm agreeing with you. I think whoever wins the Ohio State Michigan game wins Heisman too.
Yeah,
that'll be a fantastic game. I'm excited to see that. But at any rate, all right, guys, we appreciate you guys listening, watching here on YouTube. If you're watching it, please like this video, subscribe. This is our second half of the first round of the 2023 way too early mock. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, please leave a review, rate it, all that good stuff. Really appreciate it. Keeps us going. We cannot wait to get more into this class, keep doing this stuff. And Caleb's right. This Dynasty trade deadline is coming up here soon. So be making those moves, figure out what your team's going to be like, and maybe get a couple more picks for this upcoming class. But at any rate, all right, guys, appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you guys soon.